Hey everybody, how's it going? Well, with my Crusade Era Thousand Suns finished, I can move on to new projects, including some Forge World models and several Space Marine chapters and whatnot. But before I and AdMech, but before I move on to the cool stuff like that, I gotta do some basing on my Ravenwing bikers. I gotta base them all with the new bike bases, which for those of you that don't know is these guys. They're kind of like a pill shaped. Oop, that was weird. But so yeah. But I figured that is a good time to do an introductory segment, or introductory force segment called basing. I call it on the Fortress Monastery blog, which has a few posts in it already, called All Your Base. That's what like the main name of it is. I'll probably just call it basing here for ease. Pretty much, I'm gonna talk a little bit introductory about basing in general. Now, why do you base? Well, because it looks cool and it ties the model together. You look at a naked base, essentially a black base, and it's sorry, I'm trying to look for something. It's pretty boring. I don't have any on hand because I used up a lot of my bases, but here we go. Look at that. That's pretty boring when you compare it, especially with a model on it. That would take away from the illusion of a narrative, which is, you know, combat or whatever your narrative may be. So what do? Well, you base them. How you base them is up to you. If you're going for an urban theme like Siege of Death, or Desert Wasteland, Martian Desert, which I'm going to do in the future, or just simple plastic card like on my Thousand Suns here. It's up to you. I went over it a few things like the plastic card and the desert basing on the Fortress Monastery blog, so I'm not going to go too much into it. Pretty much just flock and whatnot. But one thing I will say is some bases, like slotted bases, I'll go into that in more detail when I do a next base segment. And this is a peg. I don't know if you can see underneath here. See over right, there's a little metal hole right there. A hole where the metal thing is. That's a little peg, or whatever you want to call it, that keeps it rooted to the base. Some big models like Terminator Chaplains and Mega Knobs have it. I think Gaskell also has it, but I don't remember. So yeah, we'll go back to this guy. I went over it on the blog post, basing on one of the All Your Base posts on how I did this, but a quick color go over is Bestial Brown base for the like that's what I base coat the flock with. Then I used Bubonic Brown dry brush over it, and then a dry brush of bleached bone over that to get a deserty look. And the skull I did something similar to that, but with more white and then a wash over it of Devlin Mud. One key thing to note about flock and painting flock, especially for dry brushing after you base coat, is give it sufficient time to dry. It may look dry, but it still might be a little moist because I guess it absorbs it or whatnot. So really let it dry before doing your dry brush. It really helps. Unless you're looking for like a mud slick type of look, but if you're going for like a sandy gritty look, let it be fully dried and then do your dry brush, and then let that fully dry before you dry brush over that. For urban bases, what I did, and what I'll go over in more detail when I talk about the Ravenwing basing, because they're going to be urban themed, is a black undercoat, and then grays, different shades of grays as dry brushes depending on how dark or light you want it. For the Thousand Suns, they were simple plastic card bases. Pretty much you cut the plastic card how you want it, glue it to your base, and then paint it and put your guy on it. I like to put the guy on the plastic card first because the glue tends to make it slide around a bit, which removes the paint, so you have to repaint it anyway. And this guy is kind of like a hybrid, if you will, of plastic card and flock. This is a good trick to do if you want to represent like a sidewalk or something similar going into something like a road. Alternatively, you could also put where the flock is static grass, so it looks like it's like a marble outlining border between whatever and a garden or something. You want more pizza look. That's pretty much it as far as those bases. For putting stuff on your bases, like this head is from a Toon King's Chariot. What you call it? Horse, skeletal horse head. I just have the bits laying around, so I use that. This guy is just a piece of sprue. Look like a railway tie or whatnot. They sell stuff like barbed wire, at least they used to. But you just use sprue bits like this, or broken pieces like this old broken Tau drone that I found lying around. Chemistry sets for like molecular models, for pipes or fans or whatnot. All broken all broken TVs. The list goes on. Pretty much, the basing is where it's at for using garbage essentially, without just throwing it away. One thing to say about bases is be careful. My opinion is less is always more. Because a really good looking model, like, not these guys look alright, they're decent, I like them, but like display quality, very good quality models can go on a regular old base like this or something, or what I've shown you here. But the alternate is not true. One of these guys cannot go on a display quality base. I mean, they could, but they would kind of be lost amongst a really beautiful base. If you can do it, go for it, but I suggest having an equally nice looking model on top of it, so they're not lost. Because the base, remember, is to complement your model, to help tie it together, kind of like the last string, or the last straw, or the last rope that makes the illusion complete. It's supposed to give you a narrative, like what's you running on, what's you standing on. Oh, okay, this is a urban themed army or a desert themed army. So don't go too crazy, or you might lose your model in it. Now, I'm not saying don't use rubble or don't use big stones, but that's not what I mean by crazy. I mean intricate detail, like lava flows, using water effects, stuff like that. Water effects work great, but I mean combining everything together, like making a display board type of base, can take away from a model if he's painted up simply, without much highlighting and whatnot. Like this guy, he looks fine for gaming purposes, but he's not a display model. And if you put him on display base, you get lost in it. That's pretty much it for bases. It also works for like strategy markers or objective markers to help, because when you put the two of them together, this works and you can paint it to look cool, but this just looks a lot better in my opinion. It goes with the models, especially if you theme it with your army. That's pretty much it. The next base segment will probably be Ravenwing biker bases, and like comparing the new base to the old cavalry base they gave you with the bikes. As far as I know, those new biker bases only come with scout bikes or by themselves in 5 bundles of 5 in a bag. I'll also be doing eventually Martian Desert, more desert, and showing you how I do Space Hulk bases when I flesh out my Deathwing, or flesh out I should say. So yeah, until the next one, take it easy.